Hey, was your tail too short? I'm going to be like, what? Hey, knitters. Welcome to episode 212 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I'm your host, Devin Ventry. You can find me online at KnittyMcPurly.com. I am Knitty McPurly on Instagram. And if you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Today, I'm enjoying some water out of my Colorado mug. Thanks so much, Deb and Julie, for sending me this. Got a little knitting murdog on there. Got some allergies. The pollen is crazy right now, so that's what we got going on. But I can't complain because the weather has been beautiful and we are like really coming up on porch knitting, which is one of my favorite times of the entire year. So very excited. Anyway, it is so good to be here. It is so good to be back. I really missed you guys last week and I'm so sorry that I wasn't here. We were originally planning to come back from our trip on Friday and then we came back on Saturday and I just did not have it in me at that time to pull something together. But that just means I have 2 weeks of knitting to talk about. At the end of the podcast, I'm going to tell you about my trip and show you some pictures. So I'll put that at the end. So if you're just here for the knitting, you can skip that part. I did get bitten by a dog at the beach. It looks a lot better now. Sorry, I should have done like a warning, but that happened. I'll tell that story at the end of the podcast if you want to stick around. Somebody sent me a message telling me that my subtitles on my podcast are sometimes misspelled, and that's because a computer does that. That's like AI. So I noticed that on things that I watch too, where like the person said something and the subtitle wrote a homophone or something for it. I apologize. If you want to get in touch with me, I am Devin with an I at KnittyMcPurly.com. Not Devin with an O, even if that's how YouTube is spelling it. All right, progress and shop news. Many things are new. It's exciting when you're gone for 2 weeks. There's a lot of new fun stuff to talk about. First thing that I want to talk about is May's color of the month. I really wanted it to have a flower feel and a spring growth. Love May. May is a wonderful, wonderful month. Here in Virginia, it's like full on warm. I'm from Ohio originally, and I know that there it's kind of just starting to get warm. So if you're up a little bit further north, you're just starting to see the warm weather come in. Whereas, here in the South, in the upper South, we're feeling it already. So here it is. This is May's color of the month. I think it turned out very juicy, didn't it? Like I just saw it and I was like, this is just juiciness. It's pink with peach and yellow and meadow speckles. I just love how it came out. In fact, I loved the meadow. That was it on DK. Here it is on Frankfurt Fingering. And for the sock set, I put it with a meadow mini. So if you wanted to do like a colorwork project, May's color of the month would go beautifully with meadow. If you needed more of it, you could get more of it in either Dubrovnik DK or Frankfurt Fingering. But this is it as a sock set. I just love it. It came out so good. I'm so happy with it. Okay, which brings me to a very important, like earth-shattering dilemma. You guys, I'm stuck. Because I had pretty much decided that I was going to make a wisteria tank because Amy made one. This is Amy, and this is her wisteria tank, and she used April's color of the month, and it looks amazing, and I love it. It's just such a good pattern, and it goes so well with Dubrovnik DK. Hold on, let me try and find it in the book here. I really like it. I was planning to make one. This is from Joan Ho's new book, Light and Breezy Knitwear, and I just love it. It's got really good detailing around the armholes and the neck hole, and it looks like it's kind of an all-over, maybe a 2x2 rib. That's how it looks to me. I haven't looked deeply into the pattern. And so I was going to make that. And I thought, I keep calling it March. May's color of the month would be perfect, right? Wouldn't that be so beautiful? But then Lindsay sent me this picture. This is the Tolsta tank by Rebecca Clow, and Lindsay used March's color of the month to make this fabulous tank top. So I went and looked at the Tolsta tank because there are two. There's a Tolsta tee and a tank. And the tank has, I think, 3 different options for the neck. There's like a V-neck. Maybe I think one has thicker straps, and Lindsay did the one with the thinner straps. But she said it works great with bra straps, perfectly covers them. It's not so much a problem for me because once you've had a double mastectomy and reconstruction, you don't really need a bra anymore. So that's kind of nice that I don't have to worry about straps anymore. But now I have this dilemma. I have May's color of the month, which will become some sort of fabulous tank top in Devin AT KnittyMcPurly for myself, but now I don't know what to make. So I need you to weigh in. Please leave me a comment on this earth-shatteringly crucial matter. Do I knit the Tolsta tank or the Wisteria tank? Rebecca Clow or Joan Ho? Clow, Ho, I don't know. Help me, knitters, help me. Either way, it's going to be amazing. I am excited about that. So moving on to the Advent calendar. You guys have been snapping up the Advent calendars. Thank you so much for choosing my Advent calendar. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to leave the pre-order up for maybe another week or so. The Knitty McPurly Advent calendar theme this year is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Because the beauty of the earth is all around us in these amazing colors. It's going to be a lot of blue and green with pops of many other of the colors of nature. So if you are a blue and green lover, you are going to love this Advent calendar. It will be 25 20-gram mini skeins as per usual. And this year I'm doing something new. You can choose whether you want to get it in Frankfurt fingering weight yarn or Dubrovnik DK weight yarn, depending on what you want to make. In the listing on my website, there are several patterns that I picked out that I thought would be great for an Advent calendar, that are made for an Advent calendar, that are made for 25 20-gram minis. So that's just a jumping off place. There are many, many patterns out there written for Advent calendars. Most of them are for fingering weight Advent calendars, but there are some for DK weight too. So they exist. Okay, so that is up. Go get it if you want one. Look out for future you. Also, the sock club openings went up yesterday as it was May 2nd. They went up at noon. So just a reminder, the League of Extraordinary Sock Knitters runs all throughout 2025, and inevitably throughout the month, I will have a few people cancel and drop out of the membership. So what I do is I hang on to them. And then on May 2nd or on the 2nd of the month at noon, I will put them all up at one time so that we're not checking back and I don't know when they are. And this works best. I tried putting them up throughout the month and it caused all sorts of confusion on my end. So this has been the best way. They went up yesterday and they sold out in about 10 minutes. And I got emails from people going, oh no, I missed it. So if you missed it and you want to get in on the league, make a note. It's the 2nd of the month. So the next one will be June 2nd at noon. You can come and join in. If you add it to your cart and check out, it will bill you for 1 month of the subscription, and then you'll get billed subsequently every month on the 1st, and the yarn ships out about the 15th-ish, depending on, what day of the week that falls on and whatnot. Okay, also, the Flutterbutt Knit Along ended right at my last podcast, and I announced the 3 winners that were chosen at random by the online random number generator, and those winners were Rachel Tuck, Susan Smith, and Lisa Hennessy. And they all received a $50 gift card from me. Did you get it, ladies? I sent it, but there's no way for me to like go back and say, did you get it? I don't know. So let me know if you didn't get it. A few more pictures came in after I recorded last time, so I will be putting those up here as we are talking. And as soon as the Flutterbutt knit along ended, the Hey Sailor knit along picked up. Now, this was 2 weeks ago, okay? It started on Easter Sunday. And I'm a little embarrassed because I did not get very much done, despite the fact that I was on vacation for one of those weeks. I don't know what happened, you guys. I really don't. I don't know what happened. It just was a weird kind of 2 weeks. And it just didn't happen. I was very distracted. You know, being on vacation, you're very distracted by all the things and the people. And I just didn't get very much done. So I'm a little embarrassed to show you in the middle of the row that this is all that I have done. So I am doing Jovis and Fontaine, and I've got, maybe 3 to 5 inches of the bottom. And I feel like while this is not a ton of knitting, it's not terrible. I feel like by June 1st, I could get this thing done. I haven't ordered my buttons yet. Have you guys ordered buttons? I've been looking on Etsy and I just can't decide what I want. I think I will probably go with a neutral kind of a horn button, like a circle, basic, regular button. But I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys picked. But this has been really, really enjoyable. I did not do the tubular cast on. So this was 2 weeks ago, and I have now forgotten why I didn't want to do it. I think it looked really complicated, and I didn't really see a huge benefit to doing it. So I decided to go with a German twisted cast on, which, if you've done it before, is kind of a long tail cast on. It's very similar to that, but it's a little bit stretchier. And so as I was casting on my 309 cast on stitches, I got to like 295 or something and realized that I was not, my tail was not long enough. And when you have that many stitches, it's really hard to judge. Like you thought you had enough, you thought you had more than enough, but you were short by just a little bit. So I did not pull all those stitches out. I joined new yarn and I finished my cast on. And I thought, this is such a helpful tip that I just filmed this tiny little video with some Berlin Bulky in the Thistle colorway so that you could see what I mean. So here's that. It's very easy to have it happen when you are doing a long tail cast on, or in this case, I was working a German twisted cast on, which is also the long tail variety, and you run out of tail before you have all your cast on stitches. So this happened to me when I was making my Hey Sailor tee. I did a German twisted cast on and I came up short. So here is what I did without having to rip out the 290 some stitches that I already had. So here is my working yarn that's coming out of my ball, and this is the tail that has run out. So I just cut another piece, and I'm just going to drape it over so that I have my two ends like that, and then these are my two working pieces, and I'm just going to continue to cast on in the German twisted fashion. Cast on a couple more. All right, and you can see it is connected, and then you're just going to have a couple of tails that are a part of your cast on that you can weave in later. I found that to be just a really helpful trick so that you don't have to pull out a really large cast on. Right? Super helpful. So if you have like a super long cast on and you don't want to be like, oh no, now I've got to pull this whole thing out and start over with a longer tail, you can just add on to that cast on. It was so easy. And I already wove in those little two ends that were on my cast on, and they're gone. It's totally invisible. You Okay, I found it. It's right there. That's where I added it on. That's the wrong, no, that's the right side. So yeah, I guess you could find it. But when I'm wearing the sweater, nobody's going to be like, hey, was your tail too short? I'm going to be like, what? All right, moving right along. Something popped up on my Instagram feed recently that I thought was really interesting. It is called the Knit Nation newspaper. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. My first instinct was to go subscribe to it. And when I looked at it, I thought, gosh, it's so polished and pulled together. I'm like, who's behind this? Who is putting this out? So I did a little clicking. Have you guys seen this? Have you seen this Knit Nation newspaper? So I did a little clicking and I found that the person or company behind this newspaper is called the Kindness Company. And this woman is on the about page and she says, hi, my name is, I think her name is Brittany, and I had a baby and I thought I just want to give back to the community. And as a result, I wrote this book and I have all these things. And I thought, that's weird. So I sent, there was a way where you could contact them. So I sent them a little thing saying, hi, I design knitting patterns. I would love to contribute to your newspaper because presumably it says we have patterns from designers. Presumably you would want content, right? And I'm kind of thinking, my gut is that it's it's from China and there's nothing real about it. Do you know, there's people in sweatshops putting this together. And am I being too cynical? Maybe I am. That was, because they sent me a canned response saying, thank you, we'll get back to you. And that was 3 weeks ago. And I haven't heard back. What do you guys think? Has anyone subscribed to this newspaper? And if so, would you be willing to tell me about it? I just want to know about it. I feel like you don't have a baby and then put out a ton of highly polished stuff. That just doesn't pass the sniff test for me. So anyway, I would love to know what you think about Knit Nation and this newspaper. If you know more about it, this is just kind of me looking at it and going, that's kind of my vibe that I'm getting from it. But I could be wrong. If I am, let me know. Leave me a comment or send me an email because I am curious. I still want to subscribe because it looks really cool. Okay, moving on to the comments section. So last time I talked a lot about my Traveler's Shell and the bind off that I chose for the sleeves and the front band. I believe it called for a tubular bind off. I feel like it was a tubular bind off. I can't remember words. And I did it on one and then I was like, I didn't really like it. It was very fiddly and I didn't love the look. So I found the Icelandic bind off, which was super easy to work and I liked it better. So I ended up doing that on the other sleeve and on the front band. Nettie says, I have not tried the Icelandic bind off, but I have done the tubular many times. I don't think that it's very complicated, but rather very polished. And she says, Happy Easter. Where is the group for the Hey Sailor Knit Along? Okay, this is a good question. So I don't really have a group, but we can talk about it here and feel free to leave comments about it here because I'm going to be working on it. I'll be showing you my progress as I go. And if you have any questions, you can either leave them in the comments because my watchers are very interactive and they read the comments and they will comment back to you. You could also send me an email that I could read on the podcast if you're having trouble. And I will also respond to you if I can help you. Lathe and Loom podcast says, I am definitely not a tubular bind-off fan. I do like the Icelandic for some applications and it looks great on your Traveler shell. Thank you so much. I have found I really like the Haya Haya Grandma bind-off to mimic the tubular. You essentially just knit the purls and purl the knits in whatever pattern you're working, but you wrap the yarn behind the bound off stitch. I would need to see it. It's pretty stretchy, but it looks neat and tidy. A bit fiddly as you first learn it, but once you understand the process, I find it quick to do. Yeah, that's like the German twisted. I mean, I do German twisted so often that it's just, you just run it off. But, at the first, anything is fiddly when you're first learning it. Marcy says, Happy Easter, Devin, and your traveler shell looks great. It was so gratifying to hear you read the letter from the woman who is making the Jared Flood sweater for her husband. I, too, was asked to make a complex, cabled shawl neck pullover for my husband, and he picked Hugo by Jared Flood. Not so lucky, this one is knit in pieces, and I began it over 12 years ago, and it has not been completed. Girl, I get it. I get it. We all have something like that. She says, there are some cables that I had to rip back 3 or 4 times. Lattice work. And when you rip back, if you don't get the stitches twisted appropriately, when re-knitted, it looks like the lattice work has been erased from that spot. Been there. Ripping back on cables is very difficult. That's why I would recommend a lifeline. She says, anyway, after the last time I ripped it, I got it ready to go and put it away about 7 years ago now because I felt so tired of failing. I get it. I think I would just close the door on that. If you want the yarn, repurpose the yarn. If not, just close the door on it in whatever manner you see fit. The husband continues to ask after it, and I've explained that knitting it in pieces is so not what knitters want to do anymore. But it is a beautiful sweater, and I'm getting ready to pick it up again. Okay? Keep us posted, Marcy. And I agree, it will be a magnum opus. I wish both of us the best of luck. And thank goodness those husbands are knit-worthy. Well, you got to weigh it out. Is it worth it? Is it not? Sounds like you're ready to get back to it. Keep us posted, Marcy. Katie B says, Happy Easter, everyone. Devin, the traveler shell is beautiful. Fits you perfectly. What a wonderful staple in a beautiful neutral color. I agree. It has been too warm for me to wear it. Of course, finished it on the eve of warm. But it is a great throw over kind of garment. She says, with regard to the Hey Sailor knit along, that she did not get gauge with the first swatch, and she will be going down a needle size, possibly 2 needle sizes. She says, I'm doing the math, and basically it's a mosaic sweater at a sock gauge. So it calls for a US 3, and she's going to be knitting it on a US 1. I got pretty close to gauge. I did not sweat it. I just kind of went with it and laid out what I had and looked, and I thought, once it's blocked, I think it will block out. I'm pretty sure that it will. Lori says, Devin, thank you so much for your PSA about checking credit card charges. I reviewed my credit card bill and found that for the last 9 months, someone was fraudulently charging a recurring item on our credit card. I have no idea how long that could have continued on had I not looked it over more carefully. Oh, and this is my favorite part. She says, not only are you a great knitter, designer, yarn dyer, and person, you helped me find a credit card fraud. Thank you so much, Lori. Yes, keep an eye on your credit card statements because they are sneaky. The thieves are very sneaky. Also, just as a public service announcement, never email your credit card information. Sometimes with my website, if I need you to update your payment information, I will send you a secure link so that you can do that. But don't email it to me because the thieves just snatched that out of there and now they have it. So Karen says, a friend just mentioned to me that she was using the Icelandic bind off. So I tried it on a project and I thought it was easy and looked great. I agree. I thought Icelandic bind off all day long. Sandy says, I recently learned of the Rook cast off. I have not tried it, but it's prettier and a lot easier than the Italian cast off. She said, I've done the tubular / Italian bind off and they are so pretty. Are those the same? Where's Amy? Amy Spar. Amy, are those the same? Amy will know. Maybe you guys will know too, but are the tubular bind off and the Italian bind off the same bind off? I don't know. Anyway, that was a lot of good information. Very, very helpful. All right. knitting fantasies. My 2 picks for today are great because I have never seen them before. I don't think they're new. I think they're just new to me. I just recently found them. So my first pick is called The Summerwood Tee by Liv Ulven. And I got to tell you, I looked at about 1 million tees and tanks. 1 million, because there's a lot out there. And I'm picky and I'm not exactly sure what it is I'm picky about. I think it's the finishing or the look of the finishing. This looks like a top-down raglan. It's not like there's sewing together or anything, but the details, I guess that's what I mean to say. It's in the details, whether it is an I-cord edge or I just thought this was so pretty. It is in a fingering weight. It comes in 10 sizes, and I love the all over lace pattern. I love the little cap sleeves. The detail on the raglan is really pretty. I just thought it was really good. It is €8.50. Is that how you say it? €8.50, which is pretty comparable. Euros are pretty comparable to the dollar, but it's also on sale right now, which is what I think bumped it up on Ravelry. I went through to maybe the 8th page of Ravelry, and this was there, and I just thought it was really, really pretty. I would totally knit and wear this. I liked it a lot. Did I say it was on sale? I think it was 20 or 25% off. I'll link it below. But that sale ends on the 5th, and today is the 3rd, so you just have a few more days. Okay, my next pick, I love this one. It is the Oregano Top by We Are Knitters. Originally, I think that the We Are Knitters patterns were only sold as a kit. So if you look at this on Ravelry, it'll say, oh, sorry, you can only get this as a kit. But if you go to the We Are Knitters website, which is the one that I linked below, you can get it just the pattern now. And it's pricey. It's $10 for the pattern or $9.95 or something. But I just loved it. It looks like it is knit. You knit the front flat and you knit the back flat. And I don't know that for sure, but that's how it looks to me, which would make sense. But I just think it's so pretty, so wearable. It only comes in 4 sizes, and they are using a bamboo yarn. So did I write down? I don't even know if it's a DK or a fingering weight. I didn't write that down. But anyway, I thought that was really, really pretty. So go check it out if you are interested. All right, your favorite part of the podcast and mine. So here's what happened. This story was sent in to me by a lovely podcast watcher named Jan. Hi, Jan. Thank you so much for your story. She says this literally happened yesterday, and she sent this to me about a month ago. But when she wrote it, it was fresh in her mind. And it's just kind of a hilarious comedy of errors yarn festival story. So here we go. She called it Chocolate Covered Coffee Beans and 3 Yarnies. The alarm rang at 5:30 a.m. for Jen and I, and perhaps earlier for Kayo. I'm guessing that you say it Kayo. I don't know for sure. As she had an hour to drive to my house. The 3 of us would then carpool to the Yarn Crawl bus stop 30 minutes away. Upon awakening that morning, the 3 of us knew our morning coffee was a must. But as we all know, at an older age, we need morning special time because no one desires to use the bus bathroom unless necessary. Therefore, less sleep than perhaps needed a decade ago. Excitement and enthusiasm in each of us was high as we were headed to YarnCon 2025 in Chicago. The laughter, games, and socializing on the bus was energizing. Then came our destination, the festival. 3 levels of dreamy yarn and new projects to ignite our desires and imaginations. As Jen and I conquered our lists and made quick decisions, our friend Kayo struggled with it all. Color combinations, yarn weights, and fiber contents stressed her to the max. I get it. It's easy to get overwhelmed in an environment like that. I like yarn festivals, but sometimes it's a lot. Jan says, after several hours of yarn joy on our feet, we were taken by bus to a late lunch and then to another yarn store north of Chicago where they were having an anniversary sale. Jen and I breezed through the sale, finding what we wanted quickly. We were among the first to check out and then survey the outside strip mall for a coffee shop because we were beginning to drag from the long day. Meanwhile, our friend Kaio found a sample sweater to duplicate, gathered the yarn needed, and joined the far back of the one and only checkout line. Outside, Jen and I had high hopes as we spotted a coffee shop within walking distance of the yarn store and bus, only to be disappointed when we found the door to be locked and closed for business. Oh my goodness, did they not even know about YarnCon? And that this yarn store on YarnCon Day was having an anniversary sale? Don't even. That is crazy though. She says somberly, we walked back to the bus and waited for our friend. I would feel the same way. I am a huge coffee fan and I really need it. I can't really function without it. I'm just asleep. She says the long evening ride home to Indiana was once again filled with games, sharing of yarn finds and patterns. That sounds like so much fun. I love it. Darkness set in, and a few exhausted bus companions were nodding off in rest, including Kaio. Not Jen and I, as we had one of those loud passengers sitting behind us, the life of the party type. No rest for Jen and I. It was then that I remembered that I had packed a Ziploc bag full of chocolate-covered coffee beans in my purse the day before. Jen's eyes lit up, and both of us devoured each and every one of those tasty beans along with sips of our water. It was late when the bus came to our stop. The three of us loaded into Jen's truck along with our treasures. Near the parking lot, where a couple of fast food chains were still open, we offered to get Kaio a cup of coffee. She refused, saying she wouldn't be able to sleep if she did. I told her coffee can be a good insurance policy when a long drive is ahead, but she didn't want to. We arrived at my house. Lucky me, I was home, but Jen had half an hour drive yet, and Kaio had an hour drive, so they went off without delay. I awakened Sunday morning feeling the yarn haul overhang. First up, you guessed it, cup of coffee. I noticed my phone had a very late prior evening message that I had missed. It was Kaio. She was home safe, but not uneventfully, as she texted saying, someone called the police to report an intoxicated driver. Shortly before arriving home, I noticed police cars following me. Once home, 4 police cars with all their lights on pulled into my condo complex right up my driveway. I was fully awake now. They got out and one knocked on my window. He told me that I had been reported as an intoxicated driver. I assured him I had just had a long day. I kept reading her text as she proceeded to explain to the police. I imagined her husband in his nighttime skivvies at the condo door, as I knew that would be where my husband would be. She showed the police her shopping bags full of yarn. Look, it was just yarn. I assumed they gave her the breathalyzer test, but I didn't want to ask. She did say she prayed none of her sleeping neighbors had woke up to the flashing light show. That was the end of her text. I couldn't believe what I had just read, Jan says. I poured my second cup of black coffee, still stunned and in a daze as I thought about my sweet knitting friend's experience. What embarrassment. Slowly sipping my hot coffee in my cold fingers, I came to the conclusion that the next time I'll pack a baggie of coffee beans for everyone. That is, if there is a next time. Oh my gosh, Jan, that story was so good and you told it so well. So good. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. I could just see her being like, it's just yarn. There's no booze in here, I promise. It's just yarn. But really, when you're tired, sometimes you're you're weaving a little bit. I don't know. Oh, that's crazy. But it sounds like it was an amazing time despite the police. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for all of this time. I wanted to just tell you a little bit about my vacation. I'm not going to talk too long. I'll put up some pictures. as I'm talking about this. It was totally like a gift. My brother-in-law had won a week at this beach house in the Outer Banks at a charity auction. And he was like, do you guys want to tag along? And we were like, yes, thank you. So we were there with my brother and sister-in-law and their kids. So all the cousins got to play together. And it was a very quiet, low-key, fun week. We had a really, really good time. Up until the time that I got bitten by a random dog. So here's what happened there. So it's kind of cold. This was 2 weeks ago. It's a little bit cold on the beach this one day. And Gigi and I are on the beach. We've got our sweatshirts on and, our towels over our legs. And there's really nobody else on the beach. So we're like, okay, we're cold enough. We're going to head back up. So we were a couple rows back from the main, on the beach, there's like the main houses on the main way, and then there's a couple rows of houses back there. So we were headed up the public walkway. And we're coming up the stairs, and at the top, I see this adorable dog. He's so cute. And the girl walking him is like Gigi's age, young teenager, like 15. And so I said, oh, can I pet your dog? And she didn't say anything, but she was like frozen in headlights. And I was like, she doesn't want me to pet the dog. So I said, no worries, that's fine. And I kept going. So then I see there's another girl with another dog and they're yelling to each other. So these two girls and these two dogs are together and we're between them walking on this public walkway. And I'm like, these girls don't want me to touch their dogs. So I wasn't going to ask. Gigi was in front of me. And in retrospect, I think he probably bit me because I am a bigger person than Gigi and I had on my brimmed hat. So I just looked larger than Gigi from his dog perspective. And so we didn't even get close. Like the public walkways are pretty wide. He's on one side and we kind of, go by on the other side and he jumps at me and I just put my arm up like this to protect my face and he bit me right under my elbow. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I was so shocked and angry in the moment. And when I looked at the girl, I could see, these were young girls. They had no business taking a dog that could bite someone out by themselves. They knew it, like they knew that these were not, because one of the things they were saying to each other is, how many people are on the beach? Like, is this going to be okay if we take these dogs on the beach? So anyway, I understood the situation and we were able to make contact with the owner of the dog, who was their grandma. They were at the beach just a few houses down from us and they were very nice about it. Apparently it was like a rescue dog who was older and this was the first time he'd ever bitten anybody. But of course I had to go to urgent care. It broke the skin, so I had to go to urgent care and get a tetanus shot and antibiotics and all that sort of thing. So it was really fine. Like even that, like we went to urgent care, did all that, came back and we still went out to dinner that night. Like it was fine. It was really no big deal. I had 2 sore arms basically. So all's well that ends well. But, as a dog lover, you do need to be, and we were cautious, but thankfully he didn't bite Gigi because I would have killed him with my bare hands and probably gotten bitten up in the process. So thank goodness he bit me and not Gigi. Also, I had on like a thick sweatshirt because it was cold. And so it would have been way worse if I had not had that sweatshirt on because it was a thick material. So, thank goodness. Thank you, Jesus. Kept me safe. But overall, it was a great weekend and we had a great time. But I did miss you guys and I'm glad to be back. I'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week of knitting. And don't forget to tell me what tank top pattern I should make. All right. Bye, knitters.